What's the most exciting game in March 2023? Watch to the end to find out.
It is that time once
Hello
again
again,
where we take a peek at some of the upcoming new releases. I've gone through and put together a list. What I think are the best looking new games that are launching this month in March 2023. There's a few on here I'm super pumped for, but just in general, I think these all look pretty solid. So let's jump in, starting out with the best stuff and
Let's
going
hear
in
it.
order of release date. Okay, so first up this month is Wolong Fallen Dynasty. This is a dark fantasy Souls-like action RPG being developed by Team Ninja. This is the same studio that made Nioh, which is a fairly well-regarded Souls-like series, and as such, there is quite some anticipation for this upcoming game of theirs. So Fallen Dynasty is set during 184 AD, during the collapse of a long-standing imperial dynasty. You play as some nameless soldier fighting for survival,
So immediately it's reminding me of Sekiro, like the glowing chest and the counters and stuff like that. But the enemies look really cool. The environment looks pretty, and I don't know. So far, it looks good.
Off deadly creatures and militia using martial arts inspired attacks and weaponry. So it'll have much of what you expect from any Souls-like melee focused action combat. There's a bonfire like save system that respawns enemies and an array of different weapons and unique playstyles with plenty of big
very interesting enemies. Oh man, and the ambiance to these areas, it's so cool. Okay.
For the top boss battles. Some of the major differences that set this game apart from some of its contemporaries include an emphasis on exploration, with you claiming areas of the world by planting these flags, and how that also plays into this rather unique combat and progression mechanic. So the game has what is called a morale ranking system. The higher your morale, the stronger you become. It's basically
interesting. I was just about to say, I don't know if it's going to be playing off of gear a lot, like weapons and armor, or if you really just want to level up your health or something like that to be really good, or have a stronger chance of winning fights. But it sounds like there's an interesting morale system.
Like a passive buff to your character's power as it relates to others, because both you and every enemy in the game have a morale level that will fluctuate. Whenever you kill an enemy, they will lose some morale, and then that level will stay persistent throughout world respawns. So for example, if you keep going back to campfires and resetting the world, respawning enemies, and fighting the same ones over and over again, their morale will continue to drop, and eventually you'll stop getting benefits from farming them. This basically acts as a way to combat the farming of easy to kill enemies to power yourself up. Wolong Fallen Dynasty.
That's smart. I actually like that. Yeah. So making it so that their morale consistently drops until there's no benefit. So you eventually have to move on in your game. You can't just farm the same enemy to become unstoppable so you can beat any boss. I like that.
Also emphasizes exploring with the ability of being able to double jump and move around freely within the world, which you'll want to do as you have this whole flag system of going out trying to find these flags, their battle and marking flags, and claiming these grant boost to your character's fortitude, which basically acts as a...
So I'm not sure if this is his recording or me. I mean, I'm set at 1080p here. The one thing I will say... The graphics don't look that amazing for the current generation here. And again, that could just be his recording quality. I'm not sure. But they don't look super mind-blowing. It does look cool. Like the level design is cool. And like I said, the kind of backgrounds and ambiance is definitely good. But I'm talking about like the detail. I don't know. It just doesn't look that great. But yeah, just a minor point there.
Floor of your morale ranking, preventing it from dropping below a certain point. There's also a parry system where you're able to deflect most attacks in the game, including those from large bosses. There are companions that you will unlock
like
to have
Sekiro.
Fight by your side, and there's going to be 13 weapons that you can hold to at any given time, with special martial arts inspired attacks called these wizardry spells, like elemental abilities. I think the game looks pretty interesting, and again, it is from a developer whose past work is fairly...
I always love me some spells, okay? So anytime I can whip out some magic is a good time.
well regarded. Definitely going to be one to keep an eye on. I also know that they released a demo, so if you wanted to try it out before you bought it, there's one available on Steam. Wolong Fallen Dynasty is releasing on March 3rd for PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. Have a Nice Death. This is a hand-drawn 2D action roguelite where you play as Death, the founder and CEO of Death Incorporated. Things have gone south at the job, and you need to go around the office keeping all of your subordinates in check.
I like that. That's charming. That's a charming, like, I don't know. It's creative. It's definitely a creative little idea there for a game. I like it.
So the game features 7 procedurally generated departments, each with unique visuals, layouts, mechanics, and enemies, as well as a final boss. It's got fast-paced hack and slash combat with over 70 unique weapons and spells to find it.
Wow, that's a lot of customization, and I like that it's procedurally generated, so you should have a relatively different experience each time you play.
An upgrade. And after each run, you will unlock items and upgrades that you then carry with you into future runs to help make progression easier. There's this curse system where you select from various
the animations
that also have some sort of a negative associated with it, like enhancing enemy powers or making yourself weaker. And then beyond the standard progression of moving through the various 7 levels, there are special challenges and difficulty modes with unique modifiers. So
the animations and effects, they really feel satisfying, even not like holding the controller and playing. Like just watching it feels pretty satisfying to play this.
I really like how this game looks. I think it's got really great looking animations and enemy design. And I actually played quite a bit of it last year when it first entered early access. I thought it was fun, albeit a little short at the time. It does seem like they've added quite a lot more from when I played. And the most important thing, the combat was really, really snappy, felt really good to play. I also enjoyed.
See, if you can tell that just from watching a video, it's a good sign. Like that's what I was already saying. The combat, the actions and effects and animations all feel really good just from watching. So that's even better to hear that it actually feels good to play.
Enjoyed the progression system of going through, unlocking new stuff, and getting more powerful as many roguelites are structured. So the game entered Steam Early Access in March of 2022. It still to this day has very positive reviews, and after a full year of updates, they will be officially releasing into 1.0 with the full launch, which includes a bunch of new features, weapons, levels, and upgrades. When I played it, I really liked it. It seems like the game has just gotten better since then.
Yeah, it seems like a fun little game. Definitely worth a try.
Have a Nice Death officially launches on March 22nd for PC and Nintendo Switch. Resident Evil 4 is getting a full from the ground up remake launching this.
That's right. I remember seeing something about this, some post maybe on Twitter or something. Resident Evil 4 remake. Okay.
This month, this comes with not only enhanced visuals, but also revamped systems and new gameplay features and mechanics. Most of the
I loved this game on the GameCube. The original, it was so fun. The freaking item seller. What are you buying? What are you selling? Oh, man. Brings back memories. Very nostalgic game.
The story and the base gameplay are said to be intact. The game will feature the same over-the-shoulder.
These freaking head tentacle guys. Oh, man, I hated these in the original game. Yeah, brings back a lot of memories.
Third-person camera perspective, while also drawing from other improvements and modernizations to the gameplay that we saw with the likes of the remakes of Resident Evil 2 and 3. Some of the new stuff includes multiple new enemy types. There are new stealth mechanics, a parry system, like you can deflect chainsaw attacks, among other things. There'll be new weapons and upgrades, like there's a crossbow, new laser sights, and melee weapons. Crafting got an overhaul and will also play a much bigger role than it did in the original. There are new side quests that will vary from fetch quests to puzzle solving to taking out certain targets. They've removed most of
It looks really nice. I mean, let's be honest. It looks really, really good.
The game's QuickTime events. Love to see it. Worst part I've ever seen in gaming. They've added numerous companion improvements to just make the AI smarter and more capable. And then also there are 6 optional control schemes, including one stylized after the original game's controls. So yeah, lots of new stuff, but at the same...
So you can have that... What was it? It was like stop and shoot system. So you literally couldn't shoot while moving. You had to stop and shoot. And so it was so stressful because you've got zombies coming at you and you can't move. You have to just try and aim steadily. It was such a stressful game. It's so fun.
According to some early hands-on playtests, this is a much more faithful remake compared to the ones of RE2 and 3, with some of the scenes and parts of the games being almost direct.
Yeah, I recognized that little like almost arena area. So that's definitely cool to see they're being faithful to the original in terms of a lot of, I don't know, like level design, stuff like that. Even character design, like the guy looks very similar to how he did before. But also fixing up mechanics that didn't feel good, stuff like that. That's really encouraging.
one-for-one recreations. And Capcom has also stated that the RE4 remake will be roughly the same length as the original.
Nice.
Resident Evil 4 remake will be launching on March 24th, coming to PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. And there is yet another remake. After 10 long years, The Last of Us is finally making its way over to PC. This remaster, which first launched on PlayStation.
I know a lot of people like this game. I mean, it's pretty fun, but I don't know. For some reason, just seeing this pop up, it makes me feel like, wow, they are really milking The Last of Us. I mean, there's like a show and stuff now. I'm sure it's great. I'm sure it's really fun to watch and play, but it feels so used up to me right now.
Consoles last September comes with a full revamp of the game's visuals, audio, as well as some tweaks to things like AI. Although these systems and mechanics are largely untouched, this is most certainly the best looking version of the game, and again, the first time the franchise has been ever playable on PC. They've also done things like improve the controls.
I mean, that's cool. Anytime you can bring a game to PC, there is a huge PC player base, like absolutely huge. And I think, I don't know, it's just, it feels better to play on PC if you can upgrade your system to keep up with all these games versus console games. You know, you buy at a certain level and you have to wait for the next tier of console to come out for it to be more powerful. So I think in that way, PC gaming is a lot better. And you can always plug in a controller and play on your PC if you really want to use a controller and have that controller gaming experience. Yeah. That may be a hot take, but that's my take.
And accessibility options, they made improvements to animations, and while staying true to the original, have also completely revamped the visual and audio elements.
I recognize this. I recognize this level, this, I guess not level, but this area, this building. I remember running through this very clearly.
Of the game. And lastly, the remaster includes the complete Last of Us single-player story, along with the prequel chapter Left Behind. Now, one very notable exclusion, though, with this remaster is the factions multiplayer. That was in the original game and is not here. This was also a complaint that I had about the remaster when it first came to PlayStation console last year. It feels even more stark here because, at least for...
Gonna be honest, I didn't even play this multiplayer, so this doesn't really interest me at all.
Console players, there exists a version of The Last of Us.
I'm sure there's people who are excited.
Multiplayer that they could enjoy.
Not
but for
me.
anyone on PC, no such version of the game exists for us to check out. Now, there's a reason for them excluding the factions multiplayer. Mainly, it stems from the fact that they are making a standalone multiplayer game. It'll be coming, I don't know, sometime within the next few years. I get the business reasons why they wouldn't want to release this, but I do still think it's a bit rubbish. I wish this remaster include factions, especially now that this is coming to PC, and I think this just detracts from what is otherwise an easy recommendation. The Last of Us Part 1 will be coming to PC via Steam on March 28th. Next up is probably the game that I think looks the most interesting that's coming out this month. It's called...
Ooh, tell me more.
Ravenbound. This is an open-world action roguelite set in a fantasy realm inspired by Swedish folklore. I really like
Swedish folklore. Okay, now we're getting interesting. You don't see a lot of games around that.
the setting. I think the combat looks solid as well, especially for a game from a mid-sized studio. And I love the idea of mixing open-world gameplay with...
I like some of the particle effects going on here. It kind of reminds me of Valheim, the way they are like fluttering off, whatever you want to say.
the rogue elements. I find that quite interesting.
Whoa, 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 whoa. That was a cool looking enemy. Hold on a second. Look at that. Like some troglodyte or troll or whatever. I don't know. Just the design of it. It looks like a mix of like a goblin and a troll. It looks really cool.
Find that quite interesting. So the general loop of the game is going to be like this. You will start out with your first character. It is randomly generated in terms of its appearance and stats. And then you spawn into this room of doors, from which you will only be able to open one. Doing so will propel...
You can turn into a raven and fly around, open world? That sounds cool.
You out into the world where you will fly around as a raven, picking where you want to land and begin fighting and start your adventure. You're going to go
That's kind of sick. I like that.
around taking out various camps of enemies, which will reward you with cards that act as your upgrades and enhance.
No, you lost me. Oh, man. I was just starting to build up some excitement. I liked the Raven, like, flying around in the open world thing. I liked dropping down and just starting your adventure in a new area. The enemies were looking cool. Fighting looked cool. And then you had to throw in cards. Come on. Why?
Empowering your weapons, giving you access to new gear, and unleashing new powers and capabilities. And then you keep going between camps, fighting enemies, powering up by getting these cards, while also
I mean, I guess it's fine, right? Like, the cards are just your power-ups. You just pick the power-ups that you want, but it just feels so... It just feels cheesy. I don't know. I can't describe it any better than that. The card systems, card mechanics... just feels cheesy.
searching for that region's 3 tomb keys. Once you have all 3 and you feel like you're strong enough, you can then go unlock that area's final boss battle.
If there's a demo, like a free, like, you know, you don't have to do anything or pay anything, whatever demo, just a normal demo, I'll definitely try it out. But I'm already getting the feeling I won't like it just because of the cards. I just don't like card systems.
Beating the boss brings you back to the Room of Doors, now with access to the second zone. Rinse and repeat, you continue your progression through the game.
That's a cool
now, being a
arena.
roguelite, this is going to be fairly difficult, and managing your health in combat is a primary goal, like with a lot of these games.
See, I see these enemies and they look so cool and they look fun to beat up, and man, it's just so sad that it has a card system.
You are expected to die. You will die, and when you do, you will respawn back in the Room of Doors, selecting from 3 randomly generated new characters, and then you will head back out on your adventure to try again.
Okay, so it's kind of brutal. I mean, you don't keep anything from your past character. You die, and you start over, and you try again.
You do that over and over and over, and the overarching progression all comes through those cards that you unlock.
I like that there's a dodge mechanic. That always feels good when you can, like, perfect dodge a big attack. That was cool.
Which you will then carry with you in between runs. Like I said, I think the combat looks good. It's action combat, fairly snappy, with a lot of dashing and dodging, light and heavy attacks,
definitely.
Special abilities, parrying and blocks. The open world you will move through, and
I love
as you
those
start
particles.
out, you know, you're flying up above, and there's actually icons that show you, hey, what type of enemies are here.
This is so cool. I love this view, and you have that control. You get to choose where you want to go. You have the bird's eye view. Why did it have to have a card system?
Here, and what is their difficulty level based on this 5-star system, and this lets you pick and choose your battles, so you can go for harder fights that yield better rewards, but it's more dangerous, and again, if you lose health, that's a pretty big deal, because managing
Such a
your
shame.
health is of the utmost importance. Or you can just take on some easy fights and try to conserve your health, but then also you won't be getting as good rewards, so you won't be getting as strong as quickly. Beyond the various enemy camps that are scattered throughout the open world, you'll also find things like these Raven platforms, which is what you use to enter into flight form. There'll be various different points of interest and place.
Okay, so I was getting the impression that you had to start only as the Raven form, and you pick your starting point, and then you never go back to Raven form. I actually like it more that you can find Raven platforms and go into your Raven form and fly around again. That's cool. I like that.
Places to discover, and
I also like that you can't abuse the Raven form, so you have to go to these specific Raven platforms to get up high, get that bird's eye view, and find your next, like, drop point. I don't know, something about that. I think it would feel like the coolness of the Raven form would fall off really fast if you could just do it all the time.
Single zone will have a town where you can go to stock up on gear, potions, side quests, and all of this in service of trying to power yourself up and getting those 3 keys to fight the first zone's boss, and then continuing to progress through the additional zones in the game. I think this game looks pretty interesting. I like the combination of elements.
It looks interesting except for the card system. I mean, maybe I could overlook it. Maybe. We'll see. Maybe.
Ravenbound will be launching on March 30th, coming to PC via Steam. Tainted Grail: The Fall of Avalon. This is a dark fantasy open-world RPG that is said to be full of quests, loot, choices, and monsters, all set on a bleak island on the verge of ruin. Now, as the name
I like open-world RPG. You got my attention.
entails, this is a new game in the Tainted Grail series, which is all based off of a popular tabletop game. I've actually played a few Tainted Grail games in the past, and they were all kind of weird and a bit janky, but also really cool. and a bit charming. Some of the features include an open world. You can travel anywhere, coming across unexpected quests and adventures as you explore through hidden caves, dungeons, and ancient ruins. You will get to experience the dark world of Tainted Grail, full of mysteries and complex stories that stretch back over 1,000 years. There's character customization.
If he is showing actual clips, so I'm not sure if these are actual clips of this game or if it's clips of previous games by this developer. I'm not really sure. He didn't really make that clear, but if it is clips of this game, the combat looks kind of clunky, kind of awkward. I don't know how I feel about that.
With multiple playstyle options, you can strike from the shadows, use bows and daggers, fight face to face with cold steel, or activate the forbidden rites of the druid.
Yeah, you see that sword swipe? Look at this. We gotta see that again.
Strike from the shadows, use bows and daggers, fight face to face with cold steel, or activate the forbidden.
That sword swipe was literally just like, like, I don't know. That seems so weak, so lame.
Rites of the Druids, which is sort of some like light, almost low fantasy magic that the game has. There is a stealth system with critical hits, various bow and dagger attacks. You also have access to things like swords and
also the kind of the like blood splatter or like gore or whatever. It's kind of cheesy as well. It's just kind of like I don't know. It feels strange. If this is the game, I am not that excited about it. It doesn't look interesting to me.
Axes, maces, there's dodging and blocking, there are trade, cooking, and alchemy systems, various types of crafting. The game's got dialogue trees, so you'll talk with NPCs, and depending on the branches that you choose, this will lead to different objectives. Like there'll be some quests that are locked behind various proficiency systems.
I mean, that's all kind of cool, definitely. I mean, you know, you like to have options, definitely in video games, but there's some core stuff that needs to feel good. And if the combat doesn't feel good, I don't know. I don't know if it's worth playing after that point.
As well. And the gameplay, from what we've seen, it kind of looks like a rougher version of Skyrim. Like you're walking around in first person. You're
very rough. Let's be honest here. Let's not underplay it. A very rough version of Skyrim.
Picking up stuff and interacting with things. Maybe you'll search a body and you'll find some note with some story behind it, and then you can loot that body for different things and interact with like crates and boxes. It feels like almost like a jankier, kind of darker, grittier version of Skyrim. And I think it looks pretty interesting if you have any stomach for rougher combat, kind of jankier looking systems. This does seem...
Yeah. At least he's being fair with his wording here. Rougher combat and jankier systems, definitely.
Like it might be an interesting ROM. Tainted Grail Fall of Avalon will be launching on March 30th and is coming to PC via Steam. Next.
Yeah, that's going to be a pass for me. Let's see what's up next.
Next up, we've got System Shock. It is getting a fully fledged remake of the critically acclaimed original from 1994. They've taken the core gameplay, added a whole bunch of new updated visuals, controls, as well as overhauled interface and all new sounds and music. It has the original voice actor of the game's iconic villain. And System Shock, back in the day, mid-90s when it came out, was a pretty big deal. I remember there being a lot of buzz, and this is also a game that directly inspired a lot of great games that came out.
This is exciting. Okay, you got my attention with space and sci-fi. You've got cool visuals, very very colorful, but with a very nice like edge to it all. This looks cool.
After it. So you play as a hacker on Citadel Station. After going through some sort of surgery to get this neuro implant, you wake up from a coma after 6 months and find that the station is overrun with deadly AI. The game really plays like almost like a modern survival horror game, akin to something like Resident Evil. You'll have to try to be conservative with your ammo. You'll go around.
I like the visuals. I like the enemies, the particles, the color schemes, everything so far. Combat looks fun. Shooting that gun, feeling the kick of it in the screen, like, I don't know, man. This looks good.
Looting, doing inventory management, solving puzzles as you navigate through the station and encounter the various enemies. And enemy types range from things like cyborgs and robots to mutated humanoids, scorpions with flamethrower tails, and all sorts of other weird amalgamations. Some main features include the ability to improve and adapt your skills, a non-linear story that unfolds at your own pace, and the ability to hack into areas to open alternative progression routes. The System Shock remake launched launches at some point in March. As of this recording, there is no set date, but I'm going to assume maybe sometime towards the middle, towards the end of the month. Okay, so those are the 7 main best-looking games that I think are launching in March. Now let's get some honorable mentions here. First up is Clash Artifacts of Chaos. This is a
Okay, like a Borderlands art style. Interesting.
Focused martial arts action game set in a very strange world. I played the original in this franchise, and it was super odd, like a really unique setting and characters designs and combat. Now, most melee action games are about like swinging weapons, right? But this one is focused entirely on punching and kicking. And I also
interesting. It's like martial arts comic book style action game. The game.
Also recall the original being in first person. It does appear like in this latest entry you can play in third person as well. So you're going to attack, dodge, stun, block, parry, and then land these special attacks. You can in
very interesting characters and enemies, I'll give it that.
This game switched to first person view to perform these unique technical attacks. You'll learn different styles of martial arts, which you will then alternate freely between based on the situation and the type of enemies that you're fighting. And it also has this dice game where before engaging in a fight with an enemy, you can challenge them to a game of dice, and then whoever wins that mini game can get some sort of advantage, like some.
I actually kind of like that. That's very unique. I've never heard of doing something like that. You challenge the enemies to a game of dice, and whoever wins gets a bonus. That's very unique.
Summoning up monsters as an ally or covering the area in fog. Really interesting, really unique looking game. Clash Artifacts of Chaos launches on March the 9th. Fatal Frame Mask of the Lunar Eclipse is a remake of the original that launched in Japan in 2008. This is a spooky, narrative-driven anime horror game. A group of children mysteriously disappear
I could see this game blowing up on the horror section of Twitch
during a festival, and they were found, but they had completely lost their memories. Now they return to the island as teenagers to try to figure out what happens. Turns out it was something spooky. As expected, the remake includes enhanced visuals. They've improved the in-game graphics, movies, and character models with more realistic shadow.
You wouldn't know it that they improved the graphics by looking at it. I mean, I guess it's probably better than 2006 graphics, but not by a whole lot.
And lighting. They've got this new snap mode where you can pose characters and ghost freely to create these haunting memories. And then new costumes. They say the original costume lineup has been altered slightly and new costumes added. Change the characters' costumes to experience the investigation.
I mean, you've got like waifu girl character. You know this game is going to get played for sure.
Different ways. All right, whatever. Fatal Frame Mask of the Lunar Eclipse launches on March the 9th. Bleak Faith Forsaken is a third-person action combat game from Archangel Studios, a team of 2 people. Here is a great showcase of what we should expect to start seeing a lot.
I like how dark and like dreary that looked. That was cool.
More of going forward with these very tiny teams making games with fairly impressive visuals and animations. All of this thanks to just how good game development tools have become over time. This game features an open world and exploration. You'll run, climb, and leap to ascend various parts of the environment.
This looks so cool.
It's got hardcore combat where positioning, timing, and resource management are key. There will be epic boss fights.
I love the effects. I love the enemy looks and the environments. This actually looks really cool, and 2 dudes made this. 2 guys only.
And an RPG progression system. Bleak Faith Forsaken launches on March the 10th. And with that, we will wrap up this month's list. Thank you, as always, for watching.
That was really good. I am definitely excited. There's some games I'm really looking forward to out of that. For me, the best looking games are honestly System Shock and that last one, Bleak Faith Forsaken. Both of those look really good, really promising. I want to see what happens with those games. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like, hit the subscribe button, do all that wonderful stuff, and I'll see you next time.